Welcome again to our webinar today. Five SEO mistakes to avoid. Five SEO mistakes to avoid. If this is your first time joining a webinar from Local IQ, again, welcome. We are a multi-channel digital marketing agency, which means not only do we help your business in the area of SEO, but we can also support your business in things like digital PR, paid search advertising, advertising on Google or Bing, or even if you want to advertise on Facebook, Instagram, and social media channels, we can support you with your paid social advertising strategy, website design, and so much more. And as part of NewsQuest Media Group, we are NewsQuest's digital marketing arm. We combine our leading SEO expertise with a nationwide network of trusted UK news brands, which means we can help your business build not just search visibility online, but we can also help you reach established local communities. Here's our agenda for today. We've got uh, a lot to cover today in the next 40 minutes or so. So I'm going to go as efficiently as I can. But today's session is going to be recorded. So don't worry, within the next 24 hours, you'll get all the slides that I'm going to share, as well as recording from today's session. So if you need to go back and rewatch something, you'll have the opportunity to do that. And then also, if you have questions, as I'm going through the presentation, feel free to go to that chat Q&A area, that same area where you just introduced yourself, and you can ask your question there. And we'll do our best to answer as many questions as we can in the chat and at the end of the session, if time allows, during our Q&A segment. Again, a lot to cover, so let's go ahead and jump in as we talk about the 5 common SEO mistakes to avoid. So for each section, I'm going to talk about what the mistake is, what your business should not do, why this whole thing matters of what we're talking about. And then for every section, I'm also going to share with you some action items and some checklists to help you move from watching the webinar to actually implementing it and talking to your team about it. So let's get right into mistake number one. Mistake number one is creating commodity content that really doesn't say anything new. Now, for years, businesses were told to find keywords that people are searching for, create some content around that, and then, keep publishing and publish a new blog online article once a week or every day if you can. And, that advice isn't necessarily wrong, but the problem is that today, everyone can create content really easily, particularly with AI. So simply publishing more and more content isn't necessarily going to give you the advantage anymore. And so the question I want your business to start asking is, are we actually adding something useful or different to the conversation online with our content? And this is what I mean by commodity content. Now, we've all seen articles like these, the 10 benefits of our service, the top tips for choosing a plumber, or 5 reasons you need an accountant. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with any of these topics. The problem is that there are probably hundreds, if not thousands, of articles already saying almost exactly the same thing. And so a really simple test is, if I took your company name off the blog that's on your website, and I were to put one of your competitors' names on it, would it still make perfect sense? And if the answer is yes, then it's probably commodity content. And AI has made this problem so much bigger. Um, Now, our own Local IQ research, every year, I think we're in our 5th year now, we do the Local IQ State of Digital Marketing survey and report. And we found that 50% of UK businesses were using AI in their marketing this year in 2026. And of those businesses, 90% were using it to create written content. So imagine I type, write me 5 benefits of hiring an accountant into ChatGPT. ChatGPT is going to give me an article. And if my competitor asks the same question, they're going to get an article. And if another competitor in another village type the same thing, they're going to get an article as well that probably says some of the same thing. And so very quickly, we've got lots more content, but not necessarily lots more useful information. So the goal shouldn't be to publish something simply because you can. You want to make sure that you're adding value to the conversation. And this becomes even more important when we think about AI search. Now, AI is already very good at summarizing information that exists, everywhere else online. So, for example, um, if I were to ask, into Google AI mode or something like, what should I consider when choosing a wedding venue? AI can already give me the obvious answers like location, price, catering, or maybe even parking arrangements. And so it doesn't necessarily need another 800-word generic blog to tell it those things. So for your business, you don't just want to answer the obvious question, you want to be able to answer the next question that people are going to ask once they get some of that basic information. And so the question is, what can your business tell someone that they're probably not going to get from a generic AI summary? And that's where your business wants to kind of surface content. So this is the test that I would encourage you to use before publishing something. And that is to ask this question: could only we have created this content? So before you go and you create and publish a new blog, or you put a new page on your site, you ask yourself, could only we have created this? And then run whatever that piece of content that you're thinking about through these questions. Um, does it include some firsthand experience? Is there a real example somewhere in there? Are you answering a question that customers genuinely ask? Does it contain some type of data or an expert opinion from one of your experts and professionals that work within your company? And is this something that, if you were to put it out there, a competitor could easily copy it and put it onto their website? That's the questions you want to ask. And you don't have to tick every single one of these boxes, but the more of these you can include, the stronger your content is going to become. And just to be clear, I'm not saying that you don't or you shouldn't use AI. AI itself isn't the problem. It's generic content that's the problem. And so you want to use AI to help you do the research, use AI to brainstorm, use it to help you structure your article, but don't let AI be the source of everything that your online blog or online article knows, right? And so that's the key thing to know. And the good news is that I'm not even suggesting that everyone goes back um, after this webinar and deletes their entire blog and start over. I'm not suggesting that. I would encourage you just to take one article, find one article that you already have on your website. I'm using article and blog interchangeably, so like an online blog on your website. Find one thing on your website and ask, what can we add to make this more of our own? Um, ask, could you add a customer example? Maybe there are photos that you can include into the online blog. Maybe you get a quote from someone within your team and you can add that, or you have some type of local context that will help the blog resonate more with the readers. Or maybe you can explain a mistake that you see all of your customers making all the time. And so uh, if you can include some of those pieces, it'll make your content so much better. And you can see the difference on the slide here. So this first article, 5 things to consider when choosing a wedding venue, there's nothing wrong with it, but it could have been written by almost any wedding venue. So look at the second one here. Um, this one, now look at this one. 7 questions couples forget to ask before booking a York wedding venue based on 200 events we've hosted. Now, sounds like a mouthful, but it's the same general topic, but now you've got local relevance because you're talking about York, a specific location. You've got firsthand experience. You've got evidence because you're talking about 200 events that have already been hosted there. And so there's a lot of reasons for someone to pay attention to this particular business over this business that just kind of went with that um, commodity piece, right? That anyone could have written. So you don't try to win by producing more information that already exists. You want to try to contribute something that comes from your experience, your evidence, and your expertise. And so that's key there. All right, let's look at mistake number two. Now, mistake number two, as we look at the five SEO mistakes to avoid, is targeting keywords instead of solving the customer's real questions, right? And just to be clear from the start, keywords still matter. Keywords still matter in SEO. We still need search engines to understand what our business does and where we operate. But SEO today is about much more than choosing a keyword and putting it onto a page several times. We also need to understand what the person behind that search is actually trying to accomplish. So take this for example. If you take a keyword like accountant London, right? So you've got accountant London. A business might look at that keyword and think, well, great. We need a page targeting Accountant London because that's exactly the person that we're targeting. But think about the people who are actually making this search. I mean, someone who types in Accountant London could be a person who's starting a business and wondering whether they even need an accountant. Another person might already have one, but think that they're paying too much. And you might even also have someone else who just set up a company and they have no idea what to do next. And so uh, all of these people that I've just described probably use the same search phrase, accountant London, but they all have different scenarios, completely different questions in their mind. So rather than only asking what keyword do we want to rank for, I would encourage your business to also ask, well, why is this person searching? What decision are they trying to make? What do they need to know next? Like, what's their next question that they're going to ask after they ask that obvious question? And what might be stopping them from contacting us once, we show up? Hopefully, we do show up. Because if your website just simply says, we are a leading London accountant offering high quality accountancy services, you probably really haven't helped them make that decision or answered the question. So your website and your landing pages have to say a little bit more. And again, to share with you why this is important, I mean, search engines have been moving beyond the exact keyword matching for a long time. They're increasingly becoming better at understanding the meaning and the intent. And so, and then even with AI search, it's continuing to evolve. So instead of someone simply typing accountant London into their search box, now someone can ask or even just speak into their phone a very long question like, how much should a small business accountant cost in London if I have two employees? That long question, all you have to do is talk it into your phone, and then Google will search for it, or Bing, it'll search for it. And then they may follow that question up with another question like, do I actually need an accountant if I'm using an accountant software? And then once they get into that whole loop and rabbit hole of accounting softwares, they probably will ask the search engine to help them pick the best one, which one is going to be the best one. So we've gone from people using keywords to now people having full on conversations with these AI tools and search engines. And that's where there's an opportunity for your business, because the business that answers those deeper questions very clearly have a much better chance of being uh, even more useful throughout that person's decision journey. And so let me help make this practical for you. One way to think about all of this is through what I call uh, the question journey framework. The question journey framework. And so rather than planning content around one keyword, think about the question that someone asks as they move from, where they are to making an actual decision to make a purchase. And so here's the framework. First, you have the problem, right? So what's causing this? They may not even know what service they need yet. So you want to think about, well, what problem are they experiencing in their world that's making them want to solve this pain point? And then comes the options. The person is asking, well, what are my choices? What choices do I have? For example, do I need an accountant, or do I need a bookkeeper? Or can I use an accounting software to handle what I need? A person asking those questions are thinking about what their options are. And then once they get their options, they're going to start comparing. They're going to start comparing costs. They're going to start comparing pros and cons. And that's where that type of information will be useful on your website when they start to compare you to some of your competitors. And then once they start to get some of that information, then they want a little bit more validation. And so this is where we get to proof. They want to know, can they trust you? And so this is where your customer reviews, your case studies, the way you demonstrate your expertise and show real customer examples is really going to start to matter. And then finally, once they have all of this information, hopefully they take action, and then they start to think about, well, what happens when I call this business? Or how do I get someone to call me? Or what information do I need to provide them? How long will it take for them to solve my problem? Am I going to have to commit to anything? So when you're planning content in your business, try to think of this framework: problem, options, comparison, proof, and action. And so your website should help prospective customers move through this journey. And we actually have a webinar, another Look Like You webinar, that goes much deeper into creating content that supports SEO and converts leads. And so if this is something you'd like to explore further, when you get the slides for today's presentation, you could just click through, or you can go to our website in our webinar section and take a look for this webinar and a host of others. And then one other quick action, a real simple way to put this into practice for mistake number 2 is just choose one important service that your business provides, and then take yourself through these 5 questions. What is it? Who's it suitable for? How much does it cost? How long does it take? And what should customers uh, or what should people, you want them to become customers, what should people consider before choosing this service that you provide? And and when you come up with the answers to all of these questions, um, they don't have to become new blogs on your website. That's really important to remember, because you can use these to strengthen a service page on your website. And on that service page, you can add frequently asked questions. You can add a short video. You can add, or you can use this information for sales emails that you provide to your sales team. You might even take one of the answers to one of these questions and make your own webinar for your company. And so that's the advice I would give you in this area. And again, if you're wanting to know, like, well, what questions you should be asking, or where you're going to get some of this information, just talk to your sales team, because chances are they know what your prospects are always asking before they buy, or speak to your customer service and ask them, what do customers typically misunderstand about our business and what we do? And so the whole thing about mistake number two, in terms of, you want to go from asking what keyword should we target to asking what does our customer need to know next, and are we providing them with that answer? All right, let's move on to mistake number three. Again, I know I'm moving through this hopefully efficiently and quickly, uh, but you will get the recording and the slides after, so you'll be able to go back at your own pace. And don't forget, if you have a question, to go ahead and put it into the Q&A area, and we'll do our best to answer them as we go. So mistake number three is treating SEO as something that only happens on your website. Now, a lot of businesses think we've updated our website, we're publishing blogs, and so, yeah, we're doing SEO. And yes, your website is a huge part of it, but search engines also look at the wider web. And they're trying to understand who else is talking about your business, where your business is being mentioned, is it appearing in credible places, um, and are there other websites referencing your expertise? And so SEO doesn't stop on your website. It goes beyond that. And so here are some things that your business should strive not to do. And this is where things like digital PR, industry coverage, reviews, your business profiles, all of those things become really important. And here I do want to focus particularly on digital PR, because digital PR is not simply sending out a press release every few months. And it's definitely not buying hundreds of backlinks, right? So if you get an email saying, if you pay us £100, we'll get 100 websites to link to, it's not that. At its best, digital PR is about creating something interesting or useful enough that another website, a journalist, another business genuinely wants to like reference it and link back to you. And that could be original research. It could be uh, local data that your business has and is showcasing. It could be a case study. It could be a community initiative that you're a part of, and you're talking about it, and they want to talk about what you're doing in the community. Um, all of these things connect and go back to things like mistake number one that we talked about. So if you create something that only your business could create, digital PR is one of the ways that you can take that expertise beyond your website, because you will be the source of that information. And as people share it in this viral social media world that we're in, you'll get attributed back as the creator of that. And that's really important. So instead of asking, how do we get a backlink? You should start asking, what do we have that other people might genuinely want to talk about? And again, this is really important because AI algorithms are always referencing external sources. And so the wider footprint around your business online is becoming even more important. And so I'm not saying that if you get some PR coverage that ChatGPT will suddenly start citing you. Nobody can promise that. But having credible external coverage can strengthen how your business shows up. I mean, if you go and you search into ChatGPT right now, um, it can pull up businesses and their Trustpilot profile. It can pull up comments that people have made on Reddit. And so your website may not even be the initial way that people are introduced to your business these days, especially with AI search. And so you want to make sure that your business is showing up in all of these areas. So, um, and this doesn't have to be something that only large businesses can do, right? most small businesses already have more interesting information than they realize. And so I'll just give you some examples. So if you are a restaurant, I think I did see a restaurant in the chat as everyone was introducing themselves. Maybe you can look at changes in local dining habits or unusual customer requests and talk about that. If you're an estate agent, maybe you're sitting on local property data and you've got information about what buyers are asking for or how first time buyers are behaving differently this year than they did last year. If you are an accountant, maybe there's a new tax deadline or tax change that you can comment on and be the expert of that. If you're a trades business, I mean, what's the most common avoidable problem that you see your customers um, having that you can talk about? Or what's something that gets worse every winter that you wish more of your prospective customers knew? All of these things are examples. And if you're a retailer, I've got an example here for you as well. And if you want to go more into the digital PR conversation and you feel like this will help your business with where you are. Again, I've got a webinar on our website, Digital PR in 2026, that will take you all through that. And then one more action item as it relates to this. Again, it could be a simple takeaway from this section that I would encourage you to do with your team is once a month, ask your team, what do we know that a journalist, a customer, or someone might find interesting, right? And don't start by asking the question as well, what press release should we write this month? Don't go to your team with that. Ask them, what do we know that other people will find interesting? And then once you find that information and what that is, you can turn that into content gold. Maybe that becomes the things that you turn into a short story, or you make comments into the media about that particular thing, or maybe just turn it into a blog on your website. And one good idea can often become several pieces of useful content. And so you want to think about what the ideas are and how you can repurpose that. And so a key takeaway from mistake number 3 is your website should be the center of your SEO strategy, but it should not be the boundary of it. Okay. So just because you have a great website, that doesn't mean you're doing SEO all in of itself. You want to think about how and what you can do to take your content beyond your website and give people something to talk about. So that's mistake number 3. Okay, mistake number 4 is making it difficult for search engines and people to understand your business. And this is one of those areas where a website can actually contain a lot of useful information, but it can still make things harder than it needs to be. Because have you ever gone to a website and there's a lot of information and it's just the information you need is buried and you don't even feel like reading all of the content and you just leave, you know? Maybe the structure isn't clear. Maybe the navigation menu, if they have one at all, maybe it's hard for you to get to where you need to be on the website. And so the simple way to think about it is don't make people or search engines, right? Because you got to think about both people and search engines these days. You don't want them to work too hard to figure it out what it is that your business does. And so there are a lot of ways that this happens as we see it across website clients all the time. You might have vague page titles. People don't know what's on this page. You may have a lot of services combined on one page instead of having a dedicated page um, for every service. You might be missing key information from your website. Maybe you don't list your phone number in a place where people are having a thought to call you. Or maybe some information that is on your website is different than what's on Google and it's just inconsistent. And maybe your website is having technical challenges. Maybe it's very slow and doesn't load quickly, especially when people are on their cell phones. And so these are all things that make your website difficult for people as well as search engines to understand. And if you want to look wider into common website mistakes, again, I've got another resource here for you on our website that you can look into later. And it's really important that we're talking about, making your website easier to understand for people and search engines, because before a search engine can rank, summarize, or even reference your information, it needs to be able to understand it. It needs to be able to find your website, crawl it, and get the information that it needs. And so um, you don't want to make sure that you don't have a complicated technical website structure. You got to think about all those things before you get into the advanced elements of SEO. Sometimes you just got to make sure the basics are right and that your website has a really good foundation. And so let me give you some simple things that you can do in this particular area. So a really simple thing that you can do is just make sure that your website clearly explains things like what your service is, um, who's your target audience, who uses your services, how the process works, what's going to happen when they call you, what's the first step, how much is it going to cost, and why they should trust your business, and what they should do after they finish reading whatever it is. You want to make sure that a person comes to your website and says, yes, this is exactly what I was looking for. Okay. So these are the questions you want to make sure that your website and all the pages in it clearly articulate. And then when we talk about this part of SEO and websites, sometimes it can be really technical, but there are a few um, simple technical checks that you can do. Even if you aren't the most technology savvy person yourself, you can still check out how your website is faring. So the first starting point I would say is you can use our free local IQ SEO audit to get an overview of potential issues on your website. And so I'm going to go ahead and put that link in the chat because that's something that you could actually do like now within like 5 minutes. And before you even finish this webinar, you'll have the SEO audit report. So that's something quick and easy you can do, and then take that back to your team and have some good starting points. Something else you can do is go to Google, and right where you would type in the keyword, if you type in this phrase, site colon, and then your specific website address, that'll give you an indication of which pages from your website Google has indexed, because all the pages will from your website will show up when you type this into Google. And then once you get that information, um, you can see if there are some pages that are missing, and then you can go into Google Search Console, which is a free tool from Google, and you can start taking a look at those issues and see if there are any pages that Google has not indexed. Again, if Google has not indexed it, it cannot show up in the search results. So that's how you go and fix that. And then some other things you can do is simply just making sure you visit your website on your phone and go through that whole process like you are a potential customer, to make sure that everything operates the way that it should. Look at your website, look at your Google Business profile, and make sure the information is the same across all the places and that it's really accurate. And just again, put yourself in that mind as a customer. And so these are some things that you can do um, that will help you evaluate technically the technical aspect of your website and SEO. So I don't want to get too deep in that because it can be a rabbit hole, but I hope that everyone has taken advantage of that free SEO audit, which I think makes it easier for you. Okay. Now, our fifth and final mistake that we're going to cover today, as we've covered five SEO mistakes that businesses should try to avoid. The fifth mistake is measuring SEO success through rankings alone. Okay. Now, this is probably one of the most common questions businesses ask our digital marketing experts here at Local IQ. Um, are we number one on Google? That's a very popular question. Are we number one? How do we get number one on Google? And rankings do still matter, but they're only part of the picture. Um, and what really matters is whether the search is helping the right people find you, trust you, and ultimately take action. And so, um, what your business should not do is judge SEO only by, that question, are we number one, or by one broad keyword, or a monthly traffic ranking report, because numbers can look impressive without necessarily telling you whether SEO is helping your business. And so instead of asking, where do we rank? You should be asking, are we becoming more visible to the right people? And is that visibility producing something valuable for our business? And this is really important because search results aren't just one fixed list anymore. Someone can see your business through uh, Google or Bing's organic search listings. Sometimes you may show up as a map result, they'll see you on the map. Sometimes they may see your business profile or one of your YouTube videos, or even like I mentioned, your trust pilot or your trust a trader profile might show up to the person, and sometimes they'll see that first. And so all of those things are important. And so what you want to think about as you are reviewing um, your reports, I would suggest asking these questions of and with your team. Which pages on our website are actually being found? And then, like, look in Google Search Console and you can find that answer. You want to understand, as you're looking at reporting, what questions, what queries are people typing into Google and all these search tools that brings them to your website. So that way you can make sure that you have the relevant and correct information on the landing pages that they're coming to. The third question is, which of these pages on our website are actually producing phone calls or inquiries into our business? And then what useful content are people still unable to find, or don't we have that could be helpful? And so I would say, almost greater than you're looking at some of those numbers that are showing up on the reports these days. You really want to be talking about these questions and what the answers are from your business to these things are. And there are so many different ways that you can track success these days with again, in this AI powered search era that we're in. You can evaluate visibility, you can evaluate engagement, you can evaluate commercial results. Traffic is useful, impressions are useful, but rankings by themselves don't pay the bills for your business, right? And so when you review SEO performance, you want to look at the full journey. You want to look at the full journey. Are the right people seeing us? Are the right people engaging with us? And then are they eventually doing something commercially with us, like submitting the form, calling us, that type of thing? Okay. So you don't want to measure SEO only by where you rank. You want to think about that entire journey. And again, we've got a blog on our website that talks about um, um, new KPIs and KPIs in general that you can track in this era that we're in of AI search. Okay, we've covered a lot over the last 40 minutes or so, and we've got just a few minutes left. So I'm going to prepare to go to Q&A, but let me just give you this quick wrap up for 5 SEO mistakes to avoid. And so um, let's talk about all five mistakes. The first mistake is publishing commodity content, content that could have been written by almost any other business. That's a common mistake. You don't want to do that. The second mistake is chasing keywords without understanding the intent behind it. Okay. Um, the third mistake is limiting SEO to your own website. Rather than thinking about things like digital PR, reviews, mentions, and wider authority, um, that's what you got to think about. So your website is not, in and of itself, by itself, is not enough. You also got to think about those things like digital PR and reviews, etc. The fourth mistake that a lot of businesses make when it comes to SEO is making their business difficult to understand, both to people and search engines. So either because the website is unclear or poorly structured or is technically difficult for search engines to navigate, you got to try to fix those things. And finally, the fifth is measuring rankings instead of business outcomes. And so if you look across all five of these, there's really one common thing that's running through all of them, and that is that good SEO is increasingly about being useful, clear, credible, and just easy to understand to the human, and easy to understand for um, to the AI algorithms as well. Okay, so with that, I'm going to prepare here to move to Q&A. But before I go into that, I put in the chat earlier the link to the local IQ SEO audit. And so I want to encourage you to do that if you haven't done so just yet, because when you do that audit, it'll only take about 5-10 minutes and you'll get the report back to your email. It'll evaluate your website across a lot of the things that we've talked about today. And then it'll give you some good actionable starting points that you can then take to your team and say, hey, this is where we're ranking right now. Let's do some things so that by the time the new year starts, we're in a much better position as it relates to SEO. So put that link in the chat. I'll do it one more time here for anyone who didn't grab it, as well as I just launched a webinar survey. And so if you can give us your feedback on how you feel today's session went, that would be really good. All right, so let's go ahead and tackle a couple of questions. I'm mindful of time, so I think I'll just take two questions here that didn't get answered, and then I'll leave the webinar with you so you can go back to your team. So one question that came through is, how often should I update my website content for SEO? Good question. You don't need to update content just for the sake of changing it, right? So I would encourage you to focus on keeping important pages accurate um, and current. You want to make sure that it's current. So if pricing, service, regulations, customer questions, or anything like that changes, then you should update the page. It's also worth reviewing your most important service pages every few months just to see whether you can add stronger examples, frequently asked questions, new case studies. Those things are good to do as well. So even sometimes better than creating new content can just be going to your old content and putting some more valuable pieces to it. How long does SEO usually take before I can see results? I think we actually have a blog on our website that talks about this. SEO isn't doesn't have like one fixed timeline, and so some changes can have an impact relatively quickly. And while some broader improvements can take several months, it depends on things like your market, competition, your website history, and what you're actually changing. And so I would encourage you to look at just different uh, progress indicators that kind of let you know whether or not the changes that you are making are for the better or not. Our SEO team and Look Like You is pretty good about being very transparent with the reporting with our clients and sharing with them like what actions are being done in a particular month or time frame, and then you have access to like real time information as well in terms of how your website and SEO is performing. So I would, if you've got questions about that, I would get in touch and let the SEO experts give you a better answer than I could. All right. Well, I think I'll end it there. A lot of questions came through, and we're going to try to answer as many as we can in the chat. But thank you very much for joining us today. I know that I went very quickly through, but you will, in about 24 hours, within the next 24 hours, receive the PowerPoint slides and the recording from today's session in your email. And so again, you can go back and review it at your leisure. And then you can also reach out to our experts here at Local IQ, and they'll be able to take you through your specific business and understand what your challenges are much better than I can do right here today. So if you want to reach out to them, you can let us know in the survey that I just put into the uh, chat area, or you can feel free to reach out to us through our website. So again, thank you very much for your time, everyone, and hope to see you on our next session. See you later.